Hello. Welcome to another cool time here with Blessed. And today we'll be looking at managing applications that scale with Amazon Elastic Container Service. So we've been looking at the ECS alongside the EKS, and then whilst we've dwelt pretty much around the ECS. In future videos, we'll be looking at the EKS as well. Let's get right into the session for today. As an introduction, this lab targets the design decision to address scaling issues and strategies of the ECS application and infrastructure. Hence, we'll be looking at concepts like task definition, the EC2, ECR, ECS, CloudWatch, Cloud9, and auto scaling. So get on the party with me. Now, let's do a bit of terms definition, starting with the task definition. Well, basically, we've looked at what the task is, and we've also considered task definition in one of our previous video. So the whole concept here is task creation, task definition created. We'll be reviewing task definition created, already created. We'll see how that stuff can be used to set a job and trigger something to just build stuff rapidly without having go through the hassle of infrastructure provisioning. Now, a task definition is more like a blueprint for your application. So in that task definition, you clearly spell out the environment requirement for the application. Task definition specifies various parameters like for the application to function effectively. You see stuff like containers, definition, launch type, ports, port mapping for the Docker container as well as for the physical host, then the data volumes that are assigned for specific containers. Next, we have the ECS Elastic Container Service, properly called by Amazon. It's actually a highly scalable, fast container management service, like you see in the EKS as we go on in that part. But I won't spend more time talking about this, but just for you to note that we can as well do this using a concept called Fargate, which we're not touching yet. We'll probably record a video sometime in the future answering Fargates. Next, we have the ECR, so a container registry. It's just like a Docker Hub, any other container registry. Basically, this is an environment in AWS, hence you can minimize access or restrict access to containers that you'll be deploying in your ECR. So moving on from that, auto scaling. Auto scaling is something which is not new as well. In AWS service, it helps you optimize the performance of your application, so you can scale either vertical or scale horizontal based on requirements. So it simplifies the scaling experience by allowing you to scale applications or collections of related resources that support your application with just a few selection pretty fast. Now, AWS auto scaling helps you configure consistent and congruent or congruent, I think is the right word, scaling policies across the full infrastructure stack. Hence, you are giving your application that rigidity which it needs to continue working, giving you that 99.999 or whatever they want to call it. Okay, so moving on, we will get right into the hands-on session. For the other terminologies there, I've explained in previous video, like Cloud9, your Cloud IDE, your EC2, obviously Elastic Compute Cloud. So it's just like your instance in cloud. All right, so for this lab, we have these the service load balancer, which we'll be considering towards part of the lab, just to show you what it looks like. So right there you can see managing application at scale with the ECS reference architecture as proposed by Amazon. You can clearly see the clients, the user connecting. Hence you can see there are, let me grab my mouse, the VPC. Within the VPC we have the public subnets, a public subnets, and another public subnet, and all these are within different. If you look here, you see availability zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. So high availability coming into picture here. As you can see, the whole natting happening in the background before the MongoDB right here below. Hence to my right we can see CloudWatch metric for having that clear visibility as to the performance and functionality of your application. Then we have the ECR here, which will be pulling containers from image to build what we want to build. Okay, so the lab overview again. Before we get hands-on, we'll be managing task definition, manage images using Amazon ECR. We'll deploy an application using the ECS. We'll configure Amazon EC2 using auto scaling, group capacity provider, as well as using the managed ECS scaling method. Then we'll be monitoring scaling by loading or load testing an application. Okay, join me in the party. Hands-on time right now. Okay, so the first session will be to review a task definition. varying tax definition in the ECR environment. So this is the ECR environment. We have the tax definition right here. If I click on that, we're going to see there is the cookie app right here. So we will be going into the cookie app. This has already been created within ECR. We just want to do a bit of review. I'm going to click on this as well. Now we'll be seeing the builder description, giving us a high level description of what it looks like, but I always love to fall into the JSON so I can see what it looks like. So within the JSON, you see the resource definition clearly spelled out. For this app, the image is clearly specified there. We can see its latest. Then also other parameters as required: IM role, the task definition iron, and a few other details that are of importance for us to note. Now it's very clear that you can see how important it is that you're able to review a task within the AWS environment. I'm just going to fall back into the builder just to showcase a few things. We can see currently there are no network types selected. We probably at some point will be creating a task, so I'm going to showcase how that stuff works to you guys. So still on this page, right to my left, the repository. If I click on repositories, we'll be seeing the repository from which this will be built later on. Might take a while to load for my network because of my network speed. So once this loads, we'll view the repository, and then we'll be seeing a private repository. Again, like I told you, ECR gives you the opportunity to set the repository as private. So this is actually a private repository. High level overview. I can click on public. Currently they are not public, so this is private. If I click on this repo, just so I can drill down into seeing what it looks like, I can see the image tag is latest, artifact is an image, and we can see a bit more details in terms of the size, image URI, and also the SHA-256 digest. I'll click on the latest so I can open it up. Now I can copy, give me a second there, we'll be able to view this. I don't know if I can view from the, not from the URI. Just give me a second. It should be somewhere I can grab a list and go, go view this. So very important to note the image URI, because will be the next thing what you'll be doing will be to deploy the any cookie application using the Amazon ECS. So at the moment, just note within the repository, note the image URI. So we're going to go back to creating a cluster. So I'm going to jump out of this and fall back into the ECR, get started. Oh no, I think I jumped out of the ECS. I want to go back into the ECS. So I'm going to search ECS here. I may pause this video for time consumption sake. I'll click on ECS. Okay, so we'll be creating a new cluster. So I'm going to click on cluster right here. We'll create a new cluster. We'll give this cluster probably a name. Now for the cluster type, we have the option to choose either network only template, or EC2 plus networking, or maybe EC2 Windows plus networking. For this, we'll be using this. Now we can see the resource specification that will be created: the cluster, VPC, subnet, auto scaling group with Linux IM. So I'm going to select this one, which is what we'll be working with. I'm going to click on next right there. Now we have a few more things to set here. So first thing we'll be setting right here will be verify the this is quite large. I don't think I might be requiring this much. I'm going to have to go to something pretty small, maybe T3, not a T2 micro, maybe a T3 small, because T2 micro might just give me headache. T3, man, what the hell, T3 small. Okay, so for the number of instances, I'll leave that to 1. Be sure we give this a name, so we're going to call this cookie app cluster. Okay, we can create an empty cluster, but we're not doing that. Then the provisioning model on demand instance, pretty much specifying the EC2 type there, then a few more details, key pair if you have any, but for this we do not have any. I'm going to go over to the networking session. So under the networking session, we can actually configure stuff. So what you're going to do here, we can create a new VPC, or we can use a VPC. For these, we'll be using a VPC which has been created specifically for this demo. So it's cookie app scaling VPC. We select that. So within the subnets environment, we can look for the options. We have just this one right here, so I'm going to be selecting this one. Give me a second, I need to attend to an email quickly. Moving on with the subnets, there seem to be a bunch of them, but we'll look for the one that is private subnet, which we'll be using for this demo. This is public subnet, this is private subnet 2, private subnet 1. We'll be using this for this demo. I'm going to remove this one. Okay, just to be sure, I'm taking off everything and just selecting that subnet again. I'll go over to private subnet 1. That's it over there. Okay, auto scaling IP. Now for the auto scaling IP, we can either enable this or just use the subnet setting. I'll leave that as that. Now for the security group, again, we can create a new security group, or we can use a security group created already. There's an EC2 security group created already, which will be using this one right here. Okay, now next we have the container IAM role instance right there. For this, we'll just do a few more settings. Now for instance, we can set we can create a new role, or we can use something that is already there. I'll be working with this EC2 instance role. It's created already. Then we have key and tag values. I won't be doing none of that. I'll go over to the cloud watch container insights. For this, I will enable this just so I can have CloudWatch metrics to be able to use to manage this. Then I can create this stuff. Okay, so this will go through the creation process, and once it's ready, we will see that over there. Then we'll continue. Okay, so it seems like it's ready. We'll view the cluster, and right here we can see a bit more details about the cluster. For instance, there are no services at the moment. We can check on task. Takes a while to load. There are no tasks. We can check on EC2 instances just to be sure we understand what is happening here. So the first thing we will do is to create a service, because there's nothing currently running. It's just a cluster created. So we will create a service. Let's populate this pretty fast with details, and I'll come back to you guys. Okay, so quickly, we're using the EC2. I told you about the Fargate, but we're using the EC2. We'll fill up the details for the task definition, name, the cluster, the service to match what we're building. Then the service type is replica, and then the number of tasks is 1. And then we'll just click next on this. So what we'll be doing next will be to configure load balancer. Now we've got the option to use the normal load balancers that AWS provide, but we'll be using network load balancer for this, or probably application load balancer, since we're building an application. So I'm going to select application here. Then we'll set up a few more details here, like the IAM service role. We'll be looking for a specific one created for this, which is this. Then also the load balancer name, be sure the name matches the application, just so it's easy to identify. We can see we're using the mapping 0 to port 80. That's pretty much okay for this. Then maybe check a few more details. We can add, I think we should add some extra load balancers. We'll just see how that works. So we're going to click on add load balancer. Now the production listening ports will be going for HTTP. Then create target group. We can call this the cookie app target group. Obviously, what we're building must look like what we're trying to do here, right? So we'll select that. Then everything else I can leave as default. Now, depending if I want to set the pattern path pattern, I can do that. So I'm going to leave everything else as default. Then I'm going to click on next. Then under auto scaling, we can either set do not adjust, so we can use what comes pre-installed. I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is at the moment. Then click on the next step, review this thing, then go ahead to create the service. Okay, quickly, we're going to review our service. I'm going to click on view service. Let's just see what it looks like. current status, task status is running. We can see the service is running. Now we can check from details, just to see what we've configured pretty much right there. The task, we can see if there are any currently started. It's going to take a while to load. It's running. That's the task we've created. We can check events. It's always a good thing to currently no event. Oh, okay, it's already populating. Great. I expect to see this. Now, we'll be at some point we'll be doing a bit of metrics configuration here, but at the moment, currently, I'm sure we should just see the default what is running. So let's move on to the next part of this recording. Sorry, my mouse. Okay, so quickly reviewing the app right here on the details, I can click on this. It takes me up to the EC2 instance, and I go to target group. I will see over here that's the target group created. Quickly reviewing this stuff, we can see the load balancer, which we'll be viewing later. We can see the VPC assigned, then a bit of monitoring if there's anything at the moment. Currently, we have the targets. We can look at what is being pulled in. It might take a while, but I think I'm just going to go to the load balancer. Let's load that thing up and see what it looks like. Okay, so we have a load balancer loaded. We can see right there cookie app ALB. So we have that. Now on that description, we can clearly see what we had specified in our build phase, just to be sure it tallies and it matches. Now to view this app, I'm just going to copy the DNS name and paste this on a new tab. Um, Obviously, I should be able to view the app if it's running and it's in a healthy state. If it's not, I won't be able to view it. So I'll wait for this to load. Okay, our app is running and it's in a healthy state. Pretty much cool stuff. Who love cookies? I do. Okay, great. So we've got this up here. We can see how pretty fun it is to build stuff. Now, this might seem easy, but trust me, it's not that easy as it sounds. We've just built this. We'll be managing this now, maybe maintaining, managing, and making some configuration changes and doing the whole auto scaling thing and seeing how fast that can happen within the ACR and ECS environment. Okay, just stick around. So next in line will be creating Amazon EC2 auto scaling group capacity providers. So we're going to do like two of them and we're going to see how that stuff works. Basically, a capacity provider is something that allows you to specify instance type that actually they control. So auto scaling group capacity providers, basically what it will be doing is help you to manage the infrastructure like container instance that's the task in your cluster uses. Basically, capacity provider can be created of each instance, more like EC2 auto scaling group or even Fargates. Hence, you can have that flexibility in managing the resources like the instance type, the CPU, the memory, and a bit more details as you want to start scaling your application very much to meet the demand from your clients. Okay, now there are strategy types which I won't cover in this video. You've got the bin pack, you've got the random, you've got the spread, you've got I think one more, but I won't be covering that in this video. I probably, if you need to know stuff like that, you can reach out to me personally. I'll be glad to discuss it, what they really do, and the video will be extremely long. So to do this, we'll go back to our ECS environment and start making the necessary changes to what we have in our app already. Okay, so moving on to creating the first capacity provider under the cluster cookie app, which is your app or whatever your app is. Right here, you will see there is capacity providers here. Currently, we do not have any, so we will be creating. Now we'll just fill up a bit more details. We'll give this a name, on demand capacity provider. Okay, which should be the first one. The auto scaling group. Now we've got the option and flexibility to select. So we'll be working with, excuse me, I've got some mosquitoes. So we'll be working with the first one, which will be the ECS on demand auto scaling group. Then the second one will be the ECS Spot Auto Scaling Group. So this first one will go that route. Now we will set a bit more details. Should you manage scaling? If it's managed, what target capacity are we looking at for this 100 or all of them? Then I'm going to go ahead to create this quickly. Once it's done, we'll create another one. So we have two of them running. So this is created. Capacity provider was successfully created. We'll be creating another one, and for this second one, since we want to do a spot, so basically we'll be doing spot for this one. Oh my god, I'm bad, sorry. So let's call this one a name, spot capacity provider. All right, so the type auto scaling group will change to the ECS sports. Again, the capacity I'll leave it to 100%. Then I will create the second one. So once both of them are created, I'm going to go back to my cluster and go into my app. Then I'll be viewing the capacity providers, which we've just created right here on the capacity providers. It'll take a while to load because of my network, but please bear with me. Okay, great. So we see we've got sports. Where's the second one? Okay, I'm gonna have to create it again. I guess I didn't create it. My bad. All right, let's give this a name. I thought I was doing that right on the fly, but I wasn't flying at all. On demand capacity provider. Okay, this is the first one, then 100%. So I'm going to create this, then I'm going to go back to my cluster, into my app. If it loads faster than I suspect, please just load fast. Okay, I'm gonna have to pause for this to load. So now we can see we've got both of them, the on-demand and the sports. Now we can see the managed, yes, the current and the desired. Currently there is nothing there. Okay, it's important to note these two, the current and the desired, which we'll be looking at later. So pretty much now we've got all these, both of them up and running. The next thing we're going to do is to update the cluster, and let's see how that's is going to probably take effect with the capacity providers which we've just created. So the catch is whatever new service or task that we probably launch this cluster, we'll be using the strategies defined within the capacity providers to actually roll out or implement. So what we're going to do is we're going to update this cluster and do a few changes. We're going to add another provider to this. So the first one which we had done was the on-demand. We're going to do the on-demand for this. Now we will go ahead to roll this update. Then we will do another one. Then we'll give this the spot, which is the second. Now for the spot, we'll be doing a bit of configuration change for the base and the weights, just so we can have that disparity clearly spelled out there. Okay, so what we're going to do is for provider 1, we'll give the base as 1, then the weight as 1. Then for provider 2, we'll give the base as 0 and the weights as 3. Okay, if you need to understand clearly what those do, reach out to me. Pretty much I'll be glad to spend time explaining to you. So we'll go ahead and update this. Then I'm going to cancel this to fall back to my cookie app page. Okay, so now we've got that update triggered. If we go into the capacity providers page, we will be clearly seeing that stuff's are already taking changes. Not yet. I'm going to just refresh this and wait for that. Okay, so quickly reviewing this, we can clearly see the minimum capacity 0, then the maximum capacity 3 based on what we had configured for this auto scaling group. Okay, we can as well see the clear definition of the resources. Okay, I'm going to put this in the background. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at ECS managed scaling. What if we don't want to go through the whole hurdles of doing this stuff like what we just showcased? Basically, what we're doing is we'll create a new service with the capacity provider, which we just set up based on the strategy set up with the capacity provider to be managing scaling for us. Now, this task highlights the capabilities, or more like capacity of, not capability with the right word, for the ECS managed cluster to handle auto scaling for us. So let's get right into this. Now, what we'll be doing is first we'll go over to services and see how we can set this thing pretty much in there. So let's get right into that. So we create a new service under service. Then we'll just set a few details for this service that we are creating. The sorry, okay, automatically giving us the option to actually work with what we've already built in. We can see the capacity providers which you've configured pretty much appeared there without us even having to go through the hurdle. So what we'll do is, for starts, we'll just configure a few things like the service name and a few other stuffs. So first, for the cluster, we will be choosing the cookie app. Be sure it's the cookie app. If you have many clusters, then the service name, we'll call this cookie app, and let's add some CP, capacity provider service. Okay, replica, we're going to stick with replica. The number of tasks for this, let's push, let's go from 1 to 10. Okay, let's see how that stuff works out now. We'll set a few more details on that, the deployment and other details, and I'll just let you guys know when I'm done. Okay, so basically what we've done is to set the placement type as bin pack, and basically what a bin pack would do is what the name sounds like, bin pack. So it's going to pack the least number of instances by memory, more like by memory, as compared to what we'll be seeing the other ones if we would cover for them. Okay, at this point we're just going to click next. Then in the configuration, again, we need to do a bit of load balancing here. We'll be doing application load balancing under this. Again, select application load balancing. Now we need to set a few more details. So going all the way down, be sure that we want to use the IAM role, which we already have in there, or we want to create a new IAM role. So first thing first, I think it's best we specify the IAM role which you've been using, which is what we already have. If you don't have one and your requirement is to create a new one, you can create a new one specifically for this, just so it can help you manage permissions. Okay, the load balancer name, we're just going to stick to this load balancer which we're making the modifications on. Then we'll be adding details here. So I'm going to add new load balancer. That clicks. So we will be going for port 80 again for this, basically some basic settings there. Then the target group name, we'll give that a name, which is what we have selected. Then I think that should be all that we need to set here. And I'm going to click next. Now auto scaling is the next option here. So for auto scaling, we'll just configure a few more details. I think we'll be have to, I'm sorry, I need to check up something quickly. Emails popped in. Okay, the distractive work. All right, so let's configure auto scaling quickly. We're going to set the number of minimum number of tasks 1. The desired number of tasks is 10, which we've selected. Then the maximum number of tasks, let's say we'll push to 20 for this. The IAM role, again, we'll be sticking to a role that is already pre-created in there. We'll work with that. Then the automatic scaling policy. Now at this point, you want to be sure if you want to go ahead and set up stuff. You just want to leave stuff default. So, but we will be making some changes. For instance, the policy name, we'll give it a policy name of target scaling. Just something we can use to remember this. Then the ECS service metric, what exactly are we watching for? Again, for us, CPU utilization is what we want to go for. We can go for memory utilization, or we can go for the ALB if it's required for your application. The target value, once we hit 60, I think we want to start looking at that. Then again, reviewing this, be sure it meets the requirement which you have based on your definition. Then we can click next on this. Now, I must mention for normal prod environments, you probably won't be doing this whole manual way. You'll be relying on CloudFormation templates or maybe Terraform templates to do most of this task. But again, this is me trying to show you how to get your hands-on experience doing this stuff. Okay, so we will review what we've done, then we will create this service. Okay, so once that is created, we'll come back to you guys. So let's go view the service. So we see 3 of 3. If I click on view service, we will have the page loaded for us. Now under the task, we want to be sure it's running. So let's say the states it's been provisioned still, but desired status is running. Okay, so if the desired status is, once it changes from provision to running, we will start viewing stuff. So wait for this to finish. Just to verify with you guys, if you count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 as specified, we'll be launching 10 of these instances basically. So just wait for this to change status, then we'll go view stuff. Okay, at the moment we have them running. We can clearly see they're all running now. If I navigate to the EC2 instance page, we will see that we've got capacity provider launch, both of them created right here. Okay, very important that we understand what is happening here. Maybe a bit of more talking. This video might extend beyond normal, but please bear with me. Basically, we're seeing this EC2 instance is launched and taking the name of the capacity provider, kind of like showing us that yes, this had been created specifically based on the definition within those capacity providers that we've created. Now, if I click on this, maybe just to view more details, it's very important to understand what is happening here. Okay, we'll be seeing that this is being launched. My internet is sluggish now. Okay, so we can see a bit more details. Now I'm going to go over to the target group and view this from the target group. So within the target group, we'll find the specified target. It takes a while to load. I'm not sure what's up with my network today. We'll find the specified target group once it's loaded correctly. Okay, sorry guys, I may have to stop this video here because um yeah, the internet is not helping me out, but I hope you probably find something useful in this video. At least we were able to rapidly build in ACS by using the ACR image, and I was able to also showcase from this task definition manage images, then also deploy application, configure an EC2 auto scaling group capacity provider, then also use Amazon Ecs Managed Scaling. I was able to showcase all the way to this part from this point up, except the final one, which is monitoring scaling by load testing an application. So I might do this in a single video just to show you what it seemed like, but I probably will hide stuff because I'll be using a live environment to showcase that. All right, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good time watching the content. Please, if you do like the content, subscribe and turn on the notification button, and I'll see you in the next recording. Have a good day. Bye.